Good afternoon, good evening, good morning from wherever you're joining us from. My name is Ajetumobi Olumayowa. I'm a director at Financial Inclusion Africa and also the executive producer of Africa Fintech podcast. Today, we have our guest, Dr. Babatunde Obrima, the Chief Operating Officer of the Fintech Association of Nigeria. Dr. Babatunde Obrima, it's nice to have you today.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure, sir. We have none other person but our regular host, the one that runs the affairs of Africa Fintech podcast, Ms. Uzo Onumonu. It's nice having you today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You're welcome. We're going to have a good time today, and I'm very sure that the two runners of this day have everything in store. So let's wait patiently as we delve into the discussions today. Thank you very much.
Babatunde Ogunobruche Obrima is the Chief Operating Officer of Fintech Association of Nigeria. He is a fintech enthusiast and a multi-skilled individual with working experiences spanning the banking sector, non-bank financial services sector, financial consulting services, project management and public sector. His professional career commenced at First Bank Nigeria plc and worked in various banks during his banking career. He serves on the board of various fintech companies, holds a doctorate degree in business administration, DBA, an MBA, BSc, MSc in agronomy and has certifications in project management, PMP, and life coaching. He is a fellow of the Nigeria Institute of Management, FNIM, and an honorary senior member of the Chartered Institute of Bankers, HCIB. He has attended many courses locally and internationally, including one on digital transformation at MIT.
Hi,
Hello,
Uzo.
everyone. Welcome again to this episode of our Fintech podcast. Welcome, sir. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So today we're just going to get to know you better, ask just a couple of questions, let our audience know about what you've been doing and what the next steps are with fintech in Nigeria. Very, very excited. So, can you provide an overview of the current state of the fintech industry in Nigeria and the role of Fintech Nigeria Association in its development?
Well, I think the fintech ecosystem is a growing one. And how do you define growth? I think that when you look at the association started in 2017, and in 2017, fintechs were able to attract $42 million in investment. And last year, fintechs attracted $1.2 billion in investment. So I think that is growth. So either we like it or not, there's been a growth in the ecosystem, lots of innovation, lots of, and we have 5 unicorns in Nigeria. So I think that's the ecosystem is definitely going for us and the association. Our mantra is to drive digital inclusion in Nigeria. So I mean, so digital inclusion goes beyond just payments and lending, but how do we digitalize the entire economy? We talk about digital economy in Nigeria. So how do we support that and ensure that it's across board? So for us, and that's what we do. I mean, we try to use our 3 core objectives to achieve that, to connect, being able to bring everybody together. That's why the association is inclusive, and we have today 23 sectors of the economy represented in the association. So, I mean, let's bring everybody together, no matter what you're doing, as long as you're interested in the digital space, you're welcome. Even if you're just an
Yes.
enthusiast like me, you're welcome. You're not a techie, so that's why we have so, so that's why we have law firms and media houses, we have
Place for everyone.
universities, so we have 23 sectors represented today in the association, which is under our connect objective. The second is to be able to accelerate technological growth through capacity development initiatives and thought leadership interventions. And lastly, to be able to advocate, how do we work with regulators and legislators alike to ensure that frameworks, policies that come out support innovation and creativity within the ecosystem. So for us, that's how we see we think that the opportunities are still huge. I mean, we have over 40 million people not yet financially inclusive, as they call it. That's a
Okay.
different thing entirely. There's a lot of argument about that. But I mean, but I think that the
Yeah.
ecosystem has grown and the potentials for growth are still huge, especially with the verticals.
Amazing. You mentioned, before I go to the next question, you mentioned the sectors. So what sectors, or will I say, what are the top sectors that, maybe the top 10, that are, not saying the other ones are not important, but what are the top 10 sectors right now in your association?
So we have the legacy banks. Uh, so we have about
Mm,
15 banks already in the association. We have payment fintechs, we have lending fintechs, we have those in wealth tech or investments. We have the ICT providers. They're the young startups. We have law firms. We have those in agri tech, insure tech, ed tech, health tech. I know that we're speaking to some people who are doing prop tech right now, and we want to see people in trans
yeah.
tech come in. I mean, with the verticals are like as I usually say, nobody wakes up in the morning and say, today I want to pay InterSwitch, I want to pay Flutterwave. No,
Right.
you don't pay them, but you are paying for food, for transport, for housing, for health, and other things like that. So the vertical is important that those payments, fintech just create the platform to make things happen. But the real payments, what you're really paying for, really are those particular particular services.
Also, what are key trends and innovations that are shaping, the fintech landscape in Nigeria? And how is your association supporting these changes? I know you have like your regular annual conference, but aside from that, how else is the association supporting these trends and, innovations shaping the fintech landscape in Nigeria?
Okay. Basically, I would say that one of the things that we do, they made a lot of innovations. I think that working with regulators all has helped. Yeah, today we have open banking regulation. We have the cash. You have the contactless framework that's just been released. So there are areas where you're seeing new innovations coming, biometric payments. I mean solutions. There's one of our fintechs that has a biometric solution that's quite interesting. Everything you need to do is
Okay.
use your biometrics, and I wish something that will work well in the rural areas, in particular for financial inclusion. So you have all of that, and what we do is to encourage innovation. Just people need to innovate, look for where are the gaps.
Mm,
Like I said, to try and be the next flutter with net pay stack, it's a whole lot of struggle. But where are the gaps that they are not? What's it called? They haven't provided solutions in and plug into those gaps rather than trying to run a huge race. So I think that those are gaps towards and that we do. We encourage innovation. We connect our members with other players. We see. I mean, working with other financial institutions, working with regulators. So I think that's how we've been able to intervene. Because we are not players. We are just a platform to make things happen.
make things happen. That's amazing. How has the regulatory, environment in Nigeria impacted the growth and innovation, within the fintech sector? So that's like key, right? Um, every
So
fintech.
Yeah,
and it will
it's
be
key. So I mean,
a stumbling block.
okay, so I mean, the first thing is that regulations are important. The financial system is as stable as the regulations that govern it. So regulations are necessary because regulations help to define things, for operators, for investors, and even for consumers alike. So the question that's
Yes.
always that's still up for, should fintechs be regulated like banks and what? So that's the up for the jury to to deal with. But when you consider it from a national perspective, I mean, Nigeria has just been put on the grey list by FATF, and it has to do with the fact that there are compliance gaps across the board. Especially been pointing it at fintechs and digital asset players. There's a need to start looking at those things much more seriously. So, I mean, for us, it's regulation has moved. We have PSSD at Central Bank, the Payment Systems Department. We have a fintech department in SEC. There's a fintech department in NIACOM. I think and they are all rolling out. And the good thing is that they have a listening here. They talk to us. So I think that there's a huge progress, like beyond 10 years ago when those uh, units did not exist. So I think that we made progress. How is it the best we can do? No, I mean, there's always room for improvement, and I think that we all people keep on seeing that improvement as we go ahead.
Amazing. I mean, I love fintech, so it's all normal for me to get excited hearing about all these. Can you elaborate on specific initiatives that Fintech Nigeria have or currently involved in promoting fintech growth? I
Okay,
mean, maybe your
so
favorite initiative or maybe your top three.
I mean, one of the things we do is to try and okay, let me put it this way. In 2020-21, we did a study together with EY on the fintech
Okay.
on the fintech census in Nigeria, and we're able to identify some of the pain points in the ecosystem. The big challenge was that of skills, and that was even before Japa started. So I mean, we looked at how do we um, intervene with this, and one of the things we've done is to set up under Accelerate, a digital training program for students in public universities. We've trained about 400 students so far, on web design, Python language, graphic design, um, on UX, CX, on data analytics, just to be able to create an appetite at that space. They're not ready for work, but to create that appetite for tech, for the digital environment, and prepare them for the future of work. That's extremely important. We also have what you call the startup marketplace, which is a place where if you're a startup, you can register and you can meet other providers, either they're law firms, either they're investors, uh, either it's media, people who are providing services that can help you with your business. I mean, we're also trying to introduce a mentee program, a mentor mentee
Okay.
program, and also to be able to, I mean, um, grow the ecosystem. And finally, together with CIBN and FSI, we're starting fintech certification in Nigeria. So I believe
Oh,
that all of that will help to create awareness and also build the capacity we need for that, for the ecosystem.
that's amazing. So this certificate, is it just tied to your association, or this will be exposed to schools, both federal and state level and private schools?
It's exposed to everybody. So anybody that wants to do the certification can just apply, and take on the courses, do the exam, and get the certification. There are three levels of the certification.
Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, great. Awesome. Because my network keeps going in and out. I think you
Okay.
actually answered the next question, which is how do you ensure fintech startups, especially the young entrepreneurs, have a voice and support within the organization? But you've
Sorry, I
just
think
mentioned a lot of them, having mentors, having people provide services for them, um, having a pool of investors, right, that they can be exposed to. Um, any other thing you want to add?
no. That'll be all on, on
Okay,
that.
okay. What challenges do fintech companies in Nigeria commonly face? And how is your association addressing these challenges to foster a more conducive environment for innovation?
Okay,
I know they come
so
to you a lot with, oh, how can I go past this? What are the most common challenges that they face?
well, I think the most common challenge we see really is funding, uh,
Okay.
especially at the pre-seed stage and seed stages.
Mm,
So you see a lot of money coming, but a lot of the money coming in are looking at people who are already established. So maybe from the Series A to Series D kind of funding. The early stages have always been a huge challenge. And
yeah.
really, when you look, those are stages where you expected that you are getting money from family or your own savings or from friends and what have you to start you up. But at times you actually need some prompting, some push from out there.
Right.
And I think with the fact that the Nigerian ecosystem. I mean, which also brings another challenge. So you have a lot of fintechs, a lot of funding in dollars, but technically we are not.
Mm-hmm.
We have our fintechs are not Nigerian companies because they are registered outside Nigeria to be able to get those funding.
But
So
yeah.
uh, that's a big that's another challenge. So how do we encourage local funding? The challenge that the typical Nigerian investor does not understand intellectual property, will rather buy a house in banana than put money in a fintech that has idea. With this idea, we don't know how it's going to happen. They want to
They want to do well now, now, now.
they don't work by faith, they work by sight. So
They want by
so
sight.
so that's where there is a challenge. We are actually trying to engage NASD, FMDQ, and NGX to see how we can look at local funding
Okay.
for fintechs. I know that the minister just announced that there's a $500 million for startups that they just secured. Well, we need to get more
Okay.
details on how that works, and how at what stage will this money's coming? Because if you start with the Startup Act sees startups that have been around for 10 years. So if you're just starting today, you don't fit into that to that category. But I'm sure that, I mean, as the ecosystem grows, I think that the stories of the likes of Flutterwave and Paystack and Money Point is changing local investors' perception of the fintech ecosystem, but it still needs to mature. Like, I mean, in engaging AGX, how can we get the Shareholders Association of Nigeria, all those people who buy shares, who have shares in every company, to start looking at fintechs and also start investing in small fintechs and look forward to them growing, and then they can reap the dividend of their investment. So I mean that's one. The second one is always licensing. What's it called?
Licensing.
Challenges with licensing from regulators. The time it takes to get a license. Unfortunately, we engage with the regulators. We try, but there's so much you can try. Regulators are regulators. They'll do their own bit. Until they're ready. But how do we digitize those processes? Also, are things that we need to start engaging with the regulators to make these processes faster than what they used to be. And the third one will always be regulations. These regulations are still steep. What's it called? But especially if you're operating a financial system, there will always be regulations. So
Mm-hmm.
before coming into the space, so the issue is that before coming into the space, so like this, ideas might not just be enough. Before coming to the space, what are the things others I need to cross or deal with, and prepare for them before coming into to the space. I think that's what we need to start looking at and working with fintechs to be able to achieve that. And so regulations don't become a challenge but it becomes, I mean, don't become a problem, but it's a challenge they deal with and already have solutions for before you actually get your license.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, we get past it this, let's say 6 months,
You
12 months,
know?
because there's still a lot of, there's still a lot of pool that, need assistance from this startup. And
Yeah,
we have a lot of Nigerians that are fighting, ready to actually, move. But sometimes this regulation just keeps them in a box, and either the idea just stays where it is, or if they have experience, or it's like, oh, it's who then they're able to get to the next step. So I'm really excited to see the next phase in this, regulatory issues and challenges being resolved. At least if it's 100%, we can get it down to 20%, and everyone's happy.
definitely.
So excited to see how Fintech Nigeria can take us there. So from your perspective, what unique opportunities does Nigeria market offer for fintech companies to create meaningful impact and drive financial inclusion? So outside of the association, what other opportunities are out there? Um,
So I think that the first opportunity we have is numbers.
yeah.
So I mean, we have the numbers in terms of people. So today we said about 40 million people are not financially inclusive. I mean, that is a that's out for the so I mean my own perception about it is this. That is looking at the formal sector. There is really no village in Nigeria that you go into that they don't have someone who manages the financial system of that community. You know,
Mhm.
it, he collects money, he lends from that money to those who are trading, and the system works. So trust is one thing that's important in financial inclusion. The other thing is value. The people in the rural communities who want value, they just don't want to open bank accounts. They want value. So how do you deal with those value issues? I mean, take a farming community, for example. What are farmers pain issues? They want to be sure that if there's a scorpion bite or a snake bite or they mistakenly have injuries, they can get medical services immediately. So how don't you find a way of introducing value? If you buy inputs, you get free medical
Mm.
attention if any of this happens to you. Things like that. That will prompt them to respond to you rather than saying open an account with uh, with,
Yeah,
with us.
yeah,
So I think that I mean numbers is one thing that's what's it called is something that's extremely important, for us to look at. And coming up with new solution, like I said, I mean it's not just with the fintechs coming up with the biometric solution. You don't have to have an
mm,
account number. You don't have to have a card. So you don't have to remember your card number or your PIN number or anything. Just your fingers can do all your transactions. Once you are registered on there
really.
on that platform.
I'm
Yes.
keen to
So
even know more about biometric. So
sorry.
you go just in that rural area, you can use your biometric to buy airtime, to buy uh, data, or to even do some kind of exchange, transaction
Yes.
exchange.
You know.
This,
You know. And I even know that. I mean, like for example, they're discussing with some aggregators in the agricultural sector on how to integrate a complete value chain on the system because it also has GPS capacity. So, I mean, an aggregator can go and be able to mark out farm sizes of farmers. They're able to get all the input providers down to the off-taker are registered on the platform. So the farmer can buy fertilizer, he can buy seeds, he can buy this by just going to the agent and putting his finger on what's it called and identify the input provider. The input provider gets the alert immediately, and the supply is fertilizers and his seeds to him. And if he harvests and is ready to sell, he can also sell through that same platform, and get his money. So it's quite an interesting solution that they're bringing to the market. So I think that I mean the opportunities are huge. We just need to keep thinking and thinking. How do we solve peculiar problems? One solution can't fit all. It has to be specific
Right.
solutions for different environment for specific. So I think that that's really what's going to work. So I think, but the opportunities are still huge. Like I said, the verticals are areas that have not even been scratched at all. In the survey we did with EY, I mean, payment was 38% of the ecosystem, lending was 23%, um, investment was about 15%. You had ICT was 13%, blockchain was, and crypto was 8%, insurance was 3%. All the other verticals, agri-tech, health tech, head tech, prop tech, did not even account for 1%. So, and when you consider that a disposable income actually in those directions, then there's a whole lot, and there are gaps that needs to be that can be plugged in all those value chains. So I think the opportunities for financial inclusions is quite huge.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's quite huge, and we need to take the bull by the horn and just roll out, and hopefully we it's friendly with the regulator. Before I jump into the next question, I from the statistics you shared, see that crypto is very low. Um, what do you think we can do, and how do we get across to regulators about embracing blockchain, crypto, and all of that?
Okay, so that's a very it's a very um, complicated question. So let's start with blockchain. I mean, blockchain is a technology that can be used for various things. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the crypto just rides on a blockchain technology. So we should not mix blockchain and
Right.
crypto. So blockchain is there and it can be used to solve a whole lot of problems. I mean, take identity problems. For example, today there's data everywhere. Banks have data, telcos have data, INEC has data, NIMC has data. You know, so the immigration has data, and
And
there's
then
no and there's lack of
yeah,
interoperability every time you go. I mean, why do we always have to go to the passport office to renew our passport? We can renew our passport from our houses. Really? I mean, I haven't changed. My fingers haven't changed. Why do you have to capture my
exactly.
biometrics all the time? So those are issues that what's it called? So technology can help to resolve a whole lot of stuff, and blockchain can do that. I mean, make sure that there's safety, security of this what's it called of this data and what have you. It can be used to solve supply chain issues. How do you what's it called? There are a lot of fake medicines, even in pharmacies.
Yeah,
With blockchain, you can be able to use that for supply chain and be able to track medication from point of production to the pharmacy, or to the hospital. So there are a lot of things that you can do with the blockchain technology. So coming to crypto, I mean, the issue is that, and which is we need to be at times to be real. Not many sovereignties will allow two currencies in their own what's it called in their own currency, their own country. So should crypto be a currency or should it be an asset? I fall into the character. It should be an asset. It can be traded. What's it called? Yeah, I mean, and you can get value for it. It should not compete with the what's called with the currency, and I think that's where we need to resolve those issues. I mean, even for SEC recognizes digital assets, So how do you now what's it called be able to uh, which brings another challenge, that one of the challenges we have there is lack of interoperability also amongst our regulators. So SEC has its own
yeah,
what's it called, CBN has a different. So how do you harmonize all this? What's it called? NITDA also has a blockchain policy. So how do we harmonize all of this, and look for the best? So let's take that Nigerians do $500 million in crypto trading. If you tax that, that will give government close to about 18 billion naira in tax annually. So how do you leverage on this and take advantage of it? I mean, if you're trading, it's not as different from trading in the stock market, really, because everything is a risk. You trade in the stock market, you're taking a risk also. So how do you put in KYC, AML policies, regulations on this, which are the fears that exist, and be able to ensure that you take advantage of it because it's not going away. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the reality of it. It's not going away, and that's even one of the challenges we have with FATF because everything is now underground technically. There's P2P transactions happening. There's no records. Nobody is giving any returns to NFIU. It becomes an issue. We need to put regulations in place, and what's it called, take advantage of what are the opportunities that both government and regulators can get out of this. I think that's the way out of this problem.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And I feel like, like associations like you and some other people need to have maybe regular, meetings with the CBN just to say, okay, this side, there's so much potential, not just for individual businesses, but even for the nation as a whole, right? That we're not tapping into. How can we move forward? So here are the issues, these are the mitigants that we can put in place. These are some of the regulations. But let's just not say, for instance, the Naira has been out, but we're not even utilizing it in its full capacity. So is there any talks in your institution to even try and set up something like that so that we can try and push? Because eventually, right, you know, um, we will get to that point. So even aside from the blockchain, on the blockchain side, like you said, there's so much that can be done or needs to be done. And right now, I think it's a necessity to have this synergy across all these, potential platforms and associations as well. Um, is there any, are you guys working behind the scenes, or is this something you don't want to talk about? Or, I feel like there has to be that. And I think now, the CBN, they're open to listen. So it's just kind of putting them out from their busy schedule to say, okay, can we take out like maybe 30 minutes or an hour a week or once a month to just have structure around this and try and ride them that way. What do you think?
So I mean, I'm aware that both CBN, NFIU officials have done some training um, on digital assets and crypto in particular to look at the risk, what's it called. So I'm sure that, I mean, since it's already in the financial uh, policy that there'll be tax on cryptos, I think that there's a lot of work going on behind the scene to try and get to a position where we can all this can be resolved. So I think there's work going on, and I'm sure that maybe by the last quarter of this year or by the first quarter of next year, we'll probably see some developments, what's called, but there's training going on. The new financial policy has tax for cryptos in it. So I think that there's something happening. At times, government don't want to disclose everything to you, but I mean, when you see those moves, you know that they're looking at it from another perspective, or from a new
Oh,
perspective.
wow, this is super amazing. I'm like all smiles. To know that there's work, going behind the scenes, that soon, we're just going to be hit with the updates and know that we can tap into that growing market and just, get in line with other Western businesses. Okay, great. I know we have like so much questions, but I'll try and run fast. But just bear with me. We're super excited. So we've discussed a lot about financial inclusion and how the association is bridging that gap. Some of these questions I'll skip. Um, but this one, collaboration between fintech startups and traditional financial institutions are quite complex. It can get complex. How does the association encourage and facilitate these collaborations for mutual benefit? Like I know the 15 guys are part of the association. You guys say, okay, let's have this forum and bring, the startups and, guys together. What are your challenges? How do we sort them out?
Okay, so I think the first thing we must understand is the fact that Nigeria runs what you call a bank-led financial system,
Yes.
and so only banks can go to clearing. So no matter what you're doing, as long as you can go to clearing, you are you have no choice but to marry the banks. You know. So for us, and that's why we're inclusive. We encourage collaboration. Look for areas where you what's it called you can collaborate with the bank, work with the bank, or banks work with fintechs. Fintechs have solutions. Banks are looking for solutions. So I think that it's a natural thing that should occur, and that's what we encourage. And we've had a couple of those collaborations between banks and fintechs. Because really, when you take all fintech, most fintechs, there are customers that are actually integrated with the banks, so they're banks customers. So I think that it's something that happens naturally, or that's meant to happen naturally, and when they don't happen, it's because somebody's been difficult. But I think that for us, we encourage that, and that's why, like I said, we're an inclusive association. We have legacy banks also as part of our members.
Doctor, can you hear me? Okay, I'm back.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
So I was having
Yes.
network issues.
Okay, so.
Can you hear me now? Okay, good.
Yeah, it's been actually a problem in the last 24, 48 hours. The networks have been really, really bad.
Yes, I wonder why. For me, it's been more than that. It's like it's been crazy for this past month. Um,
Yeah, so you probably missed what
okay,
I
yeah,
said, I guess.
I did.
Oh,
Please, can you repeat? Thank
okay.
you.
Like I said, also we run a bank-led financial system. So as long as you can't go to clearing, you have to marry a bank. So so we encourage collaboration. I mean, fintechs have fantastic solution. Banks have the customers. So that nexus is extremely important because the fintech, if I lock in into a bank and we have a partnership, I automatically have access to their customers. So I think that collaboration is key. Um, I always say that 1% of what is doing very well is better than 100% of what is struggling. So so if I'm logged in and I'm doing very well with it, with the collaboration, is better than staying on my own and trying to struggle and struggle and struggle. So collaboration is just natural to happen the way the financial system operates actually.
Okay, that's good. Um, so hopefully, it's just for these startups to just find a way to, and for the banks as well to just have that handshake, um, and you know, get the best out of the relationship.
Yeah.
Um, just 1 second. Let's see. Are there any notable examples of successful partnerships between fintech companies and established financial players that have emerged through the association's efforts? So you know how you have the mentors, you have the different organizations, you have.
Yeah, I mean, we've had quite a couple of those relationships. We've had, for example, it's okay. For example, CarePay is a health tech, and there's a lot of
Okay.
partnerships. They work with a flutter wave to be able to reach uh, customers and have the platform so that their services are very are smooth. You've had, yeah, like a fintech called Esusu having a partnership with EcoBank. You've had Ave Maria. It's an MFB, but they've already have some relationships with banks. Wema, Paralex, Titan. So you have all those collaborations that keep occurring. And looking for opportunities where there's that synergy and be able to do things together.
Right. That's amazing because that's very, very important, especially for these young entrepreneurs that, oh, they have an idea, they're still ready to get jump in and start, but then they need some kind of partnership and they don't know where to go. Um, are there any notable or let me say, can you share insights on the role of international partnership in advancing the Nigerian fintech ecosystem and how the association is also fostering that collaboration on that level?
Okay. So I think the first thing we did, the FinTech Association started in 2017. And by 2018, we started or promoted the African FinTech Network to try and get as many other national fintechs into a network where we can, so that platform you can share ideas, and also we'll be able to help fintechs from one country to be able to move into another country. Today, there are 35 African countries in that network. So that's our first step in be able to create that international network. We also partner with a lot of fintech associations across the globe: the Singapore Fintech Association, the Hong Kong Fintech Association, the Israeli Fintech Association, Fintech Galaxy, which is based in Oman. We have the India Blockchain Association. So we have all these associations. Even in our membership, MasterCard is a member, which is a global player. Meta is also a member of the association, although they are not even really present in Nigeria, but they see they need to interact with the ecosystem, and they're a member of the association. Annually, this year we'll be at the Singapore FinTech Festival with a Nigerian pavilion to be able to, and with a few fintechs who are joining us to be able to showcase what we're doing in Nigeria. So there are a lot of those international partnerships that we try to get the partner. We're also part of GIVE, which is a global initiative for fintech technology, which is a global platform. We're also members of that. So we create a lot of platforms for international partnerships, international exposures for our members.
That's exciting to know. I'm sure the members have a wealth of. Let's see. Can you hear me? I think you were breaking up a bit.
Oh, okay. I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me?
I think she's frozen. I'll bring her back in.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Hello, Zoom. She's frozen. I'll bring her back in. Yeah. I think she's frozen. I'll bring her back in. Yeah. I think she's. We have a little technical each. A moderator will join us soon. I think here she comes. Thank you.
Okay. So can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, great. I can. Okay. Welcome back.
Thank you. Oh, this network. Not sure why it's so bad today. Okay, I think we were speaking. I think we were speaking and then I got cut off.
Yes. Yeah, we're just saying that. I mean, we have a lot of partnerships globally that
Yeah.
we work with to expose members, and a lot of these people also plan events that members go to speak at, and so I think that on that we are doing well.
That's amazing, and also to hear all these partnerships. So every member should be excited to be part of the FinTech Association. Awesome. The next question is about the speed, or will I say, how the FinTech innovation often outpaces regulation. How does your association engage with regulators to ensure that these policies keep up with the evolving FinTech landscape?
So the way to bridge that gap is by engagement. And what we have done is to create a forum called the Regulator Forum.
Okay.
Regulator meaning regulators and innovators. It's a forum that meets quarterly, and it's got all the regulators coming into the room. So CBN, SEC, NDIC, NFIU, NITDA, NCC, NICOM, NPDB, FCCPC. Everybody coming into the
Are the
room.
banks part of it?
Sorry.
Are the commercial banks part of it? Or no?
Yeah.
Just
So we the forum that so we have members of the forum, and then where there are issues that are national, for example, the FATF issue, we open it up
right.
to everybody to attend.
Okay.
So that's what's it called, because there are follow-ups that come out of that. For example, NFI, you have to train fintechs on how to ensure compliance, how to submit their returns, what to do, and things like that. Data privacy
Yeah.
uh, issue. We had to bring the DG for the NPDB to come and talk to fintechs. So it's an active forum, and we try to deal with issues. There are issues that do with regulations that people want clarity on. So that's a forum where we'll try and bring that to bear. One thing that I think that so the way it is, fintechs are sprinters,
Right.
regulators are marathoners. So we need to meet somewhere along the line. And I always say the regulators are flesh and blood, they're not spirit. So we don't expect that, what's it called. So we have to we have to work with them. And I think engagement is critical. As you engage everybody, you can see everybody's perspective. This is where innovators are coming from, this is where the regulators are coming from. Okay, this is where the challenge is. How do we mitigate this problem or this fear that regulators have? So I think that collaboration is key, engagement is key, and that's what we try to do at the association. And I think that the regulator forum is quite a young forum. I see a situation where in the near future, I mean, as matter, the model is so interesting that the World Economic Forum actually sent representatives to come and see how it works, and how will we
Oh,
replicate this
that's
across,
amazing.
yeah, how do we replicate this across Africa? That's what they're thinking of, that they need to have this engagement, that what we've done in Nigeria is quite unique. So I think that it's a starter, and let's hope that in future it will get to a place where even policies emerge out of that engagement, where we can say together, look, these are the issues, let's work together and develop the policy, rather than the policy coming top down. It now becomes something that you all develop together. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so
That's
we look, but I mean that's in the future, not.
Who knows? This future might be in 12 months.
Yeah,
It could be in 12 months because it's very, very important
yeah,
I know before you sleep and wake up, you have like, 10 fintechs already up and running, and you can even imagine how many have applied, like hundreds of them, right? So these mini forums and groups are very, very important to scale and not just, kind of limit um, people's ideas, and that's exciting to know. So I mean, we still have a lot of questions for you. I've just gone through half, so I'm thinking let's take like a 5 minutes break. Doctor, what do you think? Or
yeah. That's fine.
should we just shoot our arrows?
Yes, let's just shoot. 5:30 is around the corner, so
Okay, Okay, all right. So let's go ahead. What advice would you give aspiring fintech entrepreneurs in Nigeria who are looking to navigate the challenges and seize opportunities in the dynamic industry? So, what would you advise aside from joining your association?
So I think that there's a professor of fintech in LBS, Professor Yinka David, where she says, "If I build it, will they come?" That was even our topic of our inaugural lecture. So, what are you building?
Right,
Are
that's
you
a good question.
building for the sake of building, or you are building because you want people to come? So that means that you are building what people need. So the first thing is that what problem are you solving? They don't
So you have
just
to be
innovate.
intentional. Yeah.
So you must be solving a problem. And that's why I say that, look, there are a lot of, we have too many problems in Africa and in Nigeria, you know. So which problem are you are you solving? You must be solving. So you can say the pay stack and so when you read story of business, they said, I know it takes about 15 years for a business to mature and things like that. But but if you're solving a problem, it's faster because technology helps you. So you can see the Paystar, the Flutter Wave, they solved peculiar problems which were there in the financial system, you know, and you can see the growth has been astronomical in 5 years, you know. So what problem are you solving? You must be solving a problem. And once you're solving a problem of what people need, people will buy. Like they say that, I mean, if you pour honey on the floor or put sugar on the floor, ants will come uninvited, you know. So what are you solving? So once you're solving a real problem, a problem that people need, the sky is just the limit. Like we have the numbers, 200 million people. You can't go wrong if you're solving a problem that people need. I mean, Verve was celebrating 50 million cards a few months ago. You know, that's huge because they are solving a problem that people need. So what problem are you solving? I think that's really the critical thing. It's not once you solve a problem, money will come looking for you because people can see they can see the money. Once you can see the money, when investors can see the money, they can see the profit. I know, and this
Yeah.
is a solution that they think that people need. They will come to you. So that's always innovate, but don't just innovate for the sake of innovating. Solve
Done.
a problem. What problem are you? So you must define that, you know, clearly as a startup.
And I totally agree with this. Don't just wake up and throw things out there and expect money to follow you. But yeah, there's so many problems in Nigeria to solve. There's just a thousand of them. You look to the left, you look to the right, there are opportunities that you can and these are simple problems. It doesn't even have to be complex. So I totally agree with you. Are there specific sectors within fintech, such as payments, lending, or blockchain, that you believe hold exceptional promise for growth in Nigeria?
So I mean, payment is fundamental. I mean, you need that. I would say that. I mean, Nigeria has one of the best payment infrastructures in the world today. I mean, when we've been doing, I mean, when you do instant payment and you transfer, it's something we just take as business as usual. In a lot of even in European countries, it's not happening. In America, they just started not too long ago. I've forgotten the name they call it. No, their transfer, and I think you can do more than maybe like $2,000 a month or something. You know, in terms of using that facility, there's a name I've forgotten the name they call it. So we've really moved a lot, done a lot with terms of payments. I think that blockchain is an area to look at in view of the kind of solutions it can give to us. Let me give, for example, let me give an example. In agriculture, yams are being rejected when they're exported, and the reason for doing that is simply because they carry a lot of diseases on them. No, I
Mm,
mean, I do cook, and every time I've caught a tube of yam, at least in the last 3 years, there's always a problem with the yam, and that's because our farmers plant yam sets instead of planting yam seedlings. Now, the yam seedlings have gone through a hydroponic and aeroponic process that makes them to be disease free. So you can buy the seedlings, but farmers don't want to be going to buy seedlings every time. They want to continue using their yam seed. So if I'm a farmer, I'm using seedlings with the supply using blockchain. I can be able to say I bought seedlings from IITA or from biocrops, and I use these fertilizers, these chemicals. I know that it's all loaded, and my harvest is this. So if I'm exporting right there using blockchain, they can trace the supply of this yam from production to harvest. So those are kind of solutions we need to start looking at creating with the agricultural sector and other sectors to be able to improve the quality of. So I think that blockchain is one is a technology that's going to help to change a whole lot of stuff, especially in the verticals. Um,
Yes, that's amazing. I know at Tingo as well, we're working on that. So I'm sure you hear about it soon. That's why I was really keen on blockchain and how the regulators are just gearing up to support that actually, because that's like supporting and fostering that side of technology. So that's amazing. Yes, very very important on not just on the agri side, but also on different spheres. And I know this you brought up that immigration. It's very very a lot of Nigerians are really frustrated with having to wait in line and do all this stuff just to get their passport. It's gotten to a stage where they should just either you pick up or you get it delivered. With DHL or any of all these logistics companies. I think we're at that point where we can say yes, we've done that. Very important. Thank you so much for that. With rapid adoption of new technologies like AI, blockchain, and biometrics, how is FinTech Nigeria Association promoting technological advancements with ensuring data security and privacy?
well, so we we encourage our members to comply with policies on data uh, privacy issues. I mean, security is extremely important. I mean, you know that even if anything goes wrong, you pay dearly for it. So it's really important that if a customer sues you
Yeah,
for for privacy violations and things like that. So it's important that those things are what's it called are taken seriously, and that's why, like I had mentioned, that we had invited the DG for the NPDD to speak to the fintech ecosystem on the new the new policy and the implementation of it, the implications if you violate it. So there is extremely important things that need to be taken very very seriously. So we always encourage our members to comply. It's very important.
very, 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 very important. Um, Also, cybersecurity is a critical concern in fintech. How do you see the collaboration between your association and cybersecurity experts shaping the security landscape for fintech companies? Because Nigerians are very smart, and once they see a loophole, that's the end. And just that little loophole can kill the business, the startup, um, or the fintech.
Okay, so cyber security or cyber threats
Yeah,
or cyber crime is a permanent problem. It's not going to go away. It will always be there because as we develop solutions, the bad guys are also developing their own solutions to counter what is being developed here. So it's something that everybody needs to take seriously. You need to ensure that you always update your system, that you have the most current security solutions in place. It's that's extremely important. I mean, we had two sessions this year, two webinars on cybersecurity already. So awareness is extremely important. That will make people to be aware. It's so my dad is 90. He gets a call from someone who says that the government wants to pay palliatives, so they wanted his ATM card number, his BVN, what's it
Yes.
called, and the old man was reeling, what's it called, everything out to them. And my mom was, I don't trust this thing, what's it called, so she calls me, and so I had to use my own connections to call people in his bank to put a no debit on his account before they take money out of his account. So you have all this problem. So we need to keep to uh, awareness is extremely important, which is something we all have to do jointly.
Right.
The fintechs, the banks, and the regulators alike. That we need to create that awareness in the public. It's a big, big problem, and it's not going away. I mean, but we can mitigate it if there's collaboration. I think that's also one of the big challenges we don't have. We don't have collaboration. We need to have a platform where if there's a fraud at a Kuda bank and they call another fintech and say, look, the money went through
Your
uh,
platform.
your
Yeah.
platform, you're able to block it. They're saying that, oh, we need to investigate and because the money is gone. So how do we ensure that we can have those, what's it called? How do we get regulations to back those, what's it called? Because you see, the other challenge is that if you block somebody's account and it takes you to court, the court will be on his side because you do not have a court order to do
Mm,
that. So you have all those challenges. So some regulations need to change that. Look, if there is a case of fraud and an account was called, should be able to a bank should be able to block the account for at least 24 hours or maybe 48 hours for investigations to take place, and what have you. So I think that so there has to be that collaboration between regulators and operators alike to and legislators too, so that we can have rules that would reduce the impact. But that I mean, because I mean, it's in my own days of banking, the fears we had was that look, armed robbers could come to the banking or a bullion van can be attacked and they'll get away with maybe 20 million naira. But somebody can sit in his room now, take a billion or billions, out of the bank. So it's a major concern that we all need to work together to deal with.
yes. Very, very important. Or maybe any of our audience listening that wants to try and set up, some system or check using blockchain to track track these fraudulent accounts. Maybe if an account is set as fraudulent, it goes into that pool, and then people check before they can even allow that BVN attached to that account to be used to open accounts anywhere. I think that will
Yeah.
be amazing, and it's something we all need to work in the technology space to get this up and running. Um, we have like 10 minutes. Securing funding, getting funding is often a hurdle for startups. How does the association facilitate access to funding for fintech startups at various stages of development? I think you've spoken about that
Yeah.
earlier,
Yeah.
but if you could just say in just maybe a sentence or two, for those joining us late, how you facilitate that.
So, I mean, what we do is to be an enabler, to be able to bring investors and startups together. But like I said earlier, it's how do we ensure that we can have a sustainable local funding to support the ecosystem. I mean, we're currently trying to engage NGX, FMDQ, and NASD, the exchanges in Nigeria, on how to be able to look at funding for the ecosystem from local investors. Because a lot of the funding you see are in dollars. It
Yeah.
has exchange rate risk to it. It also creates a situation where the fintechs are actually not Nigerian companies because to get those funds they have to register offshore. So I mean, so those are issues that we need to that we need to look at and how do we solve them.
Yes, to try and build trust for these investors to put their money and give them at least be transparent with them and let them know that yes, your money is safe, but it doesn't mean you start seeing returns immediately. Because I think that's also something that Nigerian investors need to understand that even though you invest in this startup, don't expect to see returns almost immediately. You have to be patient with these founders to push and get the business up and running, and then perhaps um, you can see your money or get your money back or whatever
Yes, you see,
raise.
because the typical fintech has like a 5 year cycle. and the typical investor in Nigeria wants his money now.
The next
So
thing. Ah, I'm sure there are a lot of founders here just laughing, and I mean, we'll get it right at some point. We have fintech like
yeah,
to help.
I think we
Facilitate.
will. Like I said, the paystack story and the story, the floater wave and the lack of money at point is an indication. It's changing perceptions of some investors. Because really the yield you're going to get, in 5 years surpasses what you're going to get in a real estate
Yeah,
investment.
very true. Very true. And perhaps we also need to have more awareness on
Yeah.
these type of because there's a lot of people with big pockets. Just expose them to these things happening. Some of them are not even yeah, they've heard of fintech, but what's their own, right? So maybe give them more, educate them more on endless possibilities in the fintech space will be great. What can other regions or and countries learn from Nigerian fintech companies, or what can they
So
learn Nigerian fintech ecosystem? And conversely, what valuable insights has your association gained from global fintech development?
okay, so what can they learn? I think that one they'll learn. The first thing is that we are innovative. I think that we're agile
Yeah,
and we're also resilient. Those are three things about Nigerians, which also uh, is comes in the business space. So and the fintechs they're Nigerians, so they bring that into the innovative space. And if you see fintechs that are successful, it's just those qualities that they brought: innovation, being agile, and being resilient. So,
okay, thank you so much, Doctor. What's your vision for the future of fintech in Nigeria? How do you see fintech Nigeria Association contributing to the realization of this vision? I know you've spoken about it here and there, but just to summarize.
okay, I mean, basically, we want to see an economy that's fully digital, private and public sector alike. That's what can, even for governments, if you're going to collect your revenue, you need digitalization,
Yeah,
to block leakages. If you want to be efficient as a country, digitalization is extremely important. So for us, how do we ensure that, like I said, our mantra is to drive digital inclusion. So how do we work with everybody, private sector, public sector alike, to ensure that this is achieved? And I think that's really what we like to see in the next 10 years, that Nigeria, there's no human intervention,
right.
like I will talk, what's it called? I mean, you bring your goods at the port, everything is digitalized. There are no, what's it called? You want to get your passport renewed, everything is digitalized. You want to vote, everything is digitalized. I mean, why can't I vote from my phone? Why do we have to go and queue? So with blockchain technology, we can make some of these things happen. So how do we ensure that this? So that will be a vision for what we like to see in Nigeria. That's completely, digital economy should not be on paper. It should actually be actualized. So,
Yeah. We just need some young entrepreneurs that are just vexed, like, you know what, we're just going to push this blockchain and, sort all these problems out. And then we hope, right, that the regulators, would, have a strong handshake and to push this forward. And we trust you and the association to help with this battle. I call it a battle because it really is one.
yes, it
Um,
is.
yeah, it is. So I'm just going to run some quick so you can speak more on the FinTech Week coming up. Um, as a okay, you've spoken about that. Building a sustainable fintech ecosystem requires. Okay, you've spoken about that as well. What measures are in place to ensure that fintech sector continues to thrive in the face of potential economic, technological, or regulatory challenges? Is this something that you guys have looked into, or is still in the works?
So I mean, everybody. oh, things are tough, what's happening, or what's. But I think that what challenges do is to bring out the innovation in you. So for us, as long as you continue to not see challenges but see solutions, the environment will continue to thrive. And that's why we encourage our members think solution, don't think challenge. And so, but I mean, look, there's no other direction to go but technology, you know.
Ex-
So I think that the opportunities are huge. Just think solutions. So,
Think solutions. I like that title. Think solutions. Are there any key areas or initiatives the association plans to focus on in the coming years?
so I mean, for us, like I mentioned earlier, how do we encourage the verticals? You know, how do we ensure that? So I mean, maybe it has to also do with some of my background. I mean, I trained as an agronomist and as a geneticist. You know, so um, I'll using both conventional breeding and biotechnology breeding. You know, so I know that technology can solve a whole lot of problems, you know, we have in the agricultural sector and in other sectors. So the verticals are extremely important. I mean, our educational system is really nothing to write home about, but we can use technology to solve those problems. You know, a health system, technology. You know, the transport system, technology. Why do people have to? Why do you have to go into a bus and the conductor is shouting, if you don't have change, don't enter? I mean, you understand. So technology can solve a whole lot of so focusing on how to solve those problems within the verticals is extremely important to us, you know, because as the verticals grow, the main areas of payments will also grow. You know, lending will grow. So for us, it's how do we focus on the verticals? How do we grow the verticals using technology? I mean, look, with technology, we can actually feed ourselves. You know, if we
Right.
actually focus on it. You know, so and a lot of the problems we have within the agricultural sector can be solved by technology. Let me give you. So, what's one of the biggest problems in Nigeria today, or was going to tell this country, or still a problem, is the herdsmen issue. So, I mean, and what's the problem? The animals need to eat, which is good, but do they have to move around to eat? I don't think so. I mean, why can't we set up greenhouses using hydroponics across the north, you know, where young people are employed and they produce pasture on a daily basis? And drones can drop this pasture to farmers wherever they are with GPS location, and they get enough fresh pasture for the animal. Their bulls gain weight, they get more money for the meat, and their cows produce more milk. So technology can solve that problem rather than us
Wow.
fighting over
That's
it.
such an amazing idea. And I'm written it down.
So I think that we need to think through how can technology solve this problem rather than this how we've been doing it, we continue to do it this way. So we think that looking at those verticals and how do we use tech to solve those problems within the verticals is extremely important.
Yeah, it's very, very important. And we also need to start thinking outside the box and not just focusing, okay, this is happening. Let me write on that and continue. So if you're a young entrepreneur listening, try and think outside the box. And Doctor here is, available to, and also a lot of, us fintech enthusiasts and um, tech enthusiasts are here to work with you. But as your mind is still, bubbly and you have so much energy, let's move that to transforming Nigeria with just amazing innovation. And I love this innovation about addressing the issue with our headsmen. It's very, very important, and it's actually not that hard to execute. So I've taken my notes down on that, and I'll see you later on that.
Just
But
just be ready to pay me royalties.
wala wala wala. Oh. For sure, of course. Could you share memorable experience that highlights the positive impact of the association's work on a fintech company, or maybe more than one fintech company, or an individual or a business within the ecosystem? Any memorable experience?
Okay, yeah, I'll just share two. I mean, we've had members who've had issues with regulators, and
Okay.
for privacy reasons, I'll just hold them because it's a bit sensitive, and we've had to
Sure.
intervene. We've had to intervene on their behalf with regulators to have some of these issues resolved, you know.
Okay.
And engagement, like I said, engagement is extremely important. The way they were going to go about it and the way we proposed and how the problems were solved was even what they were not expecting and solved so fast too because
Oh
of the
wow.
approach and the relationship we have with regulators. And I mean, I know the regulators want us to say this in public, so but that's why we'll keep the names. But we do a lot of those what's it called interventions, a lot of B2B transaction. So if you're a member of the association and you say, "Oh, I want to be introduced to this other fintechs," we do all those
Oh nice.
introductions and a lot of businesses, B2B businesses that occur amongst our members, big fintechs, small fintechs, So a lot do happen, So I mean, for us, it's about the ecosystem. Even if you are not a member and you are requesting for something, we think that it's beneficial for the ecosystem. We step in. So um, it's beyond
That's
just
amazing.
being a member. The ecosystem is extremely important to us.
That's amazing, and that just shows passion in trying to get Nigeria to where it needs to be in the fintech space. Well done, Doc. What motivates you personally to lead the efforts of Fintech Nigeria Association, and what message would you like to convey to the wider African fintech community?
Okay, I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm a fintech enthusiast. I believe that technology can solve a whole lot of problems, and so that's what's really drives me. How do we solve problems? How do we use our young population who's got a lot of energy to think, like you said, outside the box and solve problems? What's it called? I think that, I mean, look, the big challenge we have in Nigeria is really a problem of leadership. We've had leaders, but we've never had leadership because you actually have some of people with some of these ideas, but it dies because you can't. What's the call? People don't say it. So the challenge. So I always say that the challenge with a digital environment is that if the people who are supposed to take action still have an analog mindset, it will be difficult to achieve a digital. Um, um, a digital environment. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
and it just about it's not about the minister. The minister might be fantastic and things like that, but if the other people around him don't see it, what's it called? Then it becomes a problem. So for me, that's what drives me. How do we encourage young people to do things, and how do we also get government to buy into it, regulators, legislators? Technology is the only way to go. That's how we can transform this economy. Today, FX is huge. But you can imagine if we had developed a technological space and we're exporting technology with both solutions and people,
yeah.
that could change what we're talking about. That's what India has done, and we can do it here. So it's just like I said, it's the problem is leadership to be able to provide that to support what the private sector is doing. I mean, what associations like ours are doing to be able to transform the entire economy. So that's for me. That's what drives me.
That's amazing, and I'm super excited to see how I call them digital aliens. You said analog, so especially in the unfortunately we have them in the government sector, right, and regulatory sector. So how do we now get them to be semi-digital native? I won't say fully digital native, but just have some understanding of um, what we're trying to do and how to get there and move them out of that pool of being an alien and oh my gosh, what's this digital thing all about? I'm not interested. No, 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 no. Because I know that would stop the scaling of all these ideas and all this technology we've spoken about today um, to move to the next level in 5 years. You were saying 10 years. I'm like, 10 years is far. I know 5 years is being too optimistic, but it's something we need to look at. And these things can actually be solved in 1 or 2 years, right? But most times it's just this regulatory, and fair enough, they don't understand it. And how do we also need to educate them, create that awareness instead So it's even going into these government, houses to create the awareness, like having, maybe fintech awareness day, in the government houses, and just explaining this thing so that we can get to the next level. But thank you so much. So now we're moving to FinTech Week overview. Can you provide an overview of the upcoming FinTech Week in Nigeria? What are the dates, the main themes, objectives of the event, all that good stuff?
Okay, so the Nigerian FinTech Week for this year is from October 24th to 26th. The theme is
And
FinTechs.
that's on my
Resi-
birthday.
oh, good. So you can celebrate it there.
Ah!
FinTechs. So the theme is FinTechs, resilience, innovation, and diversification. So, I mean, in the last 2 years, we've seen FinTechs collapse,
Mm,
and when you look at what is responsible for the collapse, they're mostly governance issues, compliance, risk management issues. So, and those are things that speak to resilience. As fintechs, we are more focused about market penetration, valuation, and things like that, the earlier stages, and we'll leave those things like compliance, risk management, governance at the back burner until things start to happen. So how do we look at that? And so what we're doing that we have a Hall of Fame, which has fintechs that are over 20 years and above, you know, and they're talking about how did we get here? So we have the likes of Funke Okpeke, Michelle Elegbe, John Obaro of System Specs. We're hoping to bring in some other international fintechs to join them so we can talk about resilience. I mean, what did you do right that you able to survive 20 years, 30 years? We're also going to have unicorns, Am Serangogi of Cheaper Cash, Benga of Flutterwave, the MD of Fori in Egypt, who are unicorns in Africa, to be able to talk about, I mean, innovation. And then we're going to talk about diversification. And diversification, we're bringing in the verticals, agri-tech, ed-tech, um, prop tech. What are the things happening? People should stop looking at payment, and start looking at the verticals. What are the opportunities in the verticals? We don't say you should go to farm, but what are the gaps in some of the value chain that you can provide solutions for? So, I mean, that's what we'll be looking at. The Nigerian FinTech Week is going to be an exciting time, and the regulators are coming. Even the central bank is going to be there, talking about e-naira and the new things they're doing with fintechs on e-naira with blockchain companies. Interestingly enough, a lot of blockchain companies are working with CBN to solve some of the e-naira issues. There are fintechs providing
can they talk about
solutions on
crypto?
e-naira. Sorry?
I said, can CBN talk about crypto as well?
I don't know about that. Maybe when we get there, we hear them. But so we're going to see a whole lot of. It's going to be an interesting 3 days, of fintech activities. A lot of pitches. We already have about 10 companies who want to pitch new products and solutions. They're going to be exhibition. We have about 30 plus companies doing exhibitions, and I think CBN is doing another 20 that's going to do the exhibition. So it's going to be
Okay.
an interesting 3 days of fintech activities and new things to look up to, and we'll also be able to hear from the regulators what's the new direction, in
Yes,
terms
very
of
important.
the ecosystem. So SEC is going to be there, NIPS is going to be there in terms of regulators. So we're going to, and lots of fintechs are coming. I mean, Mastercard, Flutterwave, we e-transact, express pay, for those who have already committed. So it's going to be quite so we're going to devote 1 day to each of those themes in the uh, issues on the theme, to be able to address them, and the president of the African Development Bank will be one of the keynote speakers at the opening session. So
Okay, that's amazing, and hopefully everyone in this space can be there. It's very important. What can attendees? Well, you've kind of mentioned most of it. Expect to experience at FinTech Week. Are there any key sessions, workshops, speakers you're particularly excited about? Aside from the ones you mentioned, or any ones you've mentioned, which ones are you excited about?
Which one
Or
am I excited about? For me, for me, I'm excited about day three when we're going to bring in the verticals. To be able to hear what people are doing in the health sector, in the agri sector, um, in the educational sector. I think those are things that we, for me, will be exciting, and a lot of people don't know what is happening in those sectors. Everybody just we all focused on payment and lending, but really, there's a lot happening in those other verticals. So for me, those are the sessions I'm looking forward to.
very true. How does the FinTech Week aim to showcase latest trends, innovations, and opportunities within the Nigerian FinTech ecosystem? So aside from the speakers, how are there other activations that will happen during the event? Or will it just be like maybe a breakout session? How would that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of interactions. What's it called? I'm not sure we last year we had breakout sessions, but we don't want to. So every year we try to do something new. We don't want to. What's it called? This year we want to see real things. Let people show what they're what they're doing. So that's those are the interesting things I think that we're going to see. And talk about what's it called? What people are doing. I mean, for us, that's the way to go.
Okay, amazing. I know everyone's excited, not just because it's starting on my birthday, but because of, all these amazing things that you've mentioned. Um, so FinTech Week often brings together a diverse range of participants. How is the event ensuring that it's inclusive and accessible to FinTech startups, established companies, regulators, investors, and other stakeholders?
Oh, yes. So, I mean, like I told you, we're an inclusive association already. So that speaks to the fact that whatever we do takes everyone into consideration in our planning, in what we do. So everybody has a stake. So yeah, they're not left out at all. So,
That's amazing. Are there specific initiatives or networking opportunities um, designed to encourage collaboration and interaction among participants
oh,
with doing
definitely.
expertise?
Definitely. I mean, you mean from our data last year, we had over 390 corporate entities at the Nigerian FinTech Week, either as exhibitors, as speakers, or as participants, in the at the Nigerian FinTech Week. So obviously, the opportunities for networking are huge, in view of the number of participants that attend, and over 50% of attendance are C-suites um,
Okay,
people. So it creates a lot of opportunities for B2B businesses. I know a lot of firms that says that, look, by participating in Nigerian Future, we got a lot of clients. So this year we're coming as sponsors. So
nice, nice, because they're seeing the value.
yeah.
Financial inclusion is a critical topic for many African countries. How does FinTech Week plan to address the role of FinTech in advancing financial inclusion, especially in the context of the Nigerian market?
Well, I think that, like I said earlier, we all need to define each market, what constitutes trust, what constitutes value to them. And I think that's what's going to, and then weave solutions around it. That's how we're going to get people to be financially inclusive. I mean, why don't you target the person they trust? And let the person they trust bring them on. So how do we bring the Babalajos and co into the financial system? What incentive are we going to offer them?
Yeah,
To what's it called, to make them come? Will a biometric? So I mean, look at the guys doing biometric. Will a biometric solution be what should solve the problem? So those are I think those are things that we need to look at. What's peculiar? What will work in each community?
yes, because each community needs might be different. I totally agree. Many startups seek funding to scale their operations. Will FinTech Week offer sessions or platforms for startups to connect with potential investors or funding sources
Oh,
between 24 October 24 to 26, or will it be after the event?
Yeah, I mean, there'll be connections that people will make during the week, and some of it, I mean, there will be those that will be post event. And some will continue after the event. So it creates an opportunity for everybody to, like we said, I mean, we're inclusive. So take advantage of the opportunity. I mean, we are there. I mean, if you want introductions, we always do them. I mean, it's and some introductions can be done even on the platform where we're going to create. So if you're interested in this, indicate, and we can see we can do matches.
Oh, okay. That's great. Innovation often goes hand in hand with technology advancement. Are there plans to showcase emerging technologies such as AI, blockchain, metrics that you mentioned during the FinTech Week?
Yeah, there's actually a panel that's going to be discussing AI at the FinTech Week. Interesting enough, yesterday or that was Tuesday, we actually had a session on AI. We call it Intercontinental Webinar, and we had speakers from Israel, from the UK, from the US, to talk about artificial intelligence. So, and there's also one during the Nigerian FinTech Week. So it's something that we all need to look at. That's the way the world is going. How ready are you for it?
Right.
Is your job at stake?
A lot of people have had that question, but I think AI is the next evolution, just the security part of it that needs to be addressed. So most people are comfortable, most organizations or businesses are comfortable with driving AI. I know in the US some companies have shut down anything AI, and the employees don't have access to it. So those security gaps need to be addressed for businesses and companies to
Yes, I
hopefully
mean
hear more
regulation.
about it.
Yeah, regulation is really important. Like I said, I mean, look, we don't shy away from regulation. Regulation is important. Regulation helps to define things. So how do our regulators need to quickly look at it, and how do we put regulation in place to ensure that it's not mismanaged or exploited, as it were.
Exploited, yes. Yeah. After the FinTech Week concludes, how will events impact on the Nigerian FinTech ecosystem be measured? Are there plans to ensure that the insights gained and connections made lead to tangible outcomes?
Yes, I mean, we always do follow-ups. One of the things we do is to publish a report after, a brochure of the events and the decisions that came out of various sessions, and where we need to engage regulators, where we need to engage specific what's called groups. Those are done to ensure that we those decisions are implemented for the better of the fintech ecosystem and Nigeria at large.
Okay, that's I like the idea of the reports and decisions made. Those are key. Um, will this be exposed to everyone or just members in the association?
No, it's exposed to everyone because those reports are on our website, so you can always was look at them, see them.
Okay, great. Looking beyond FinTech Week, what role do you believe events like this play in shaping the future trajectory of the FinTech industry in Nigeria?
So I think that I mean it helps to define and showcase what we are doing. I think that for us, what we would love to see really is how do we collaborate such that all other events we can merge into one and
Yeah.
make Nigeria a destination. Like everybody goes to Singapore for the Singapore FinTech Festival. Why can't the world come to Nigeria for the Nigerian FinTech Week? That we all collaborate and embed it into that one week. And everybody around the world that look, this week we're all heading for Nigeria, and let's to see what's happening there. So for us, I mean, we think that it's been impactful, and what we like to see is that how do we make it bigger than what we are. Collaboration is key for us. We're open to collaboration. I mean, with other events planners, let's come together and let's have one big Nigeria event, sort of, and let the whole world come to Nigeria. It has implications for tourism. It has implications for the economy. It will bring effects that we're looking for too. So, how do we get how do we get everybody to come to Nigeria as a destination?
Yeah. Are there plans, or is that in the works?
Well, I mean, it's in the works to try and engage others and see their what's it called, their point of view. If it's something that they want to look at. You know,
I'm sure everyone will be excited about it. It might take a longer time to plan, so we hope to see maybe in the next 12 months, maybe something like that, or 24 months. Spring up is like planning for the World Cup in Nigeria. What can individuals or organizations who are unable to attend physically engage with FinTech Week's content or stay updated on the discussions and insights shared? Would you have like an app where they can join some of the sessions, or it will just be streamed on YouTube? How can they engage with the
oh,
content?
yeah, because it's a hybrid event. It's going to be streamed on YouTube. It's going to be streamed on Zoom. You know, so you and for the main sponsors, they are going to have both physical booths and virtual booths. So you probably might not miss much. Be able to actually interact virtually with them in their in their booths to also see what they're doing. So it's going to be. So if you can't come physically, you will not likely miss much.
I'm excited to see the virtual booth. When you said that, I'm like, really? Wow. Sustainability is an important consideration for events. How is FinTech Week aiming to minimize its environmental footprint and create a positive social impact beyond the discussion?
Yes. So like I said, we make implementation is key for us. How do we implement those decisions that come out of the Nigerian FinTech Week?
Yeah.
So at the FinTech Association, we're driven. There are three core objectives are also driven by three core committees. So they connect as a committee, they accelerate as a committee, they advocate as a committee. From the governing council. So once there are decisions made like that, each of those committees will take up those actions that are linked to their committee, and they will drive it there. Those committees also have what you call subcommittees. If you're a member of the association, you must choose to belong to one of those committees. So we bring it also down that the members also participate and we can drive it, across board.
Yes, that's very important that they have access to contribute. I like that.
Yeah.
How also for non-members, how can they join FinTech Association? How can they participate in the FinTech Week coming up? Just tell us a little bit about both, so our audience can go and do what they need to do right away.
Okay, so to join the association, you just need to go to our website, fintechng.org, and on the membership portal, you click, everything is digital. You fill the registration form, and then you go, what's it called? Then you, based on the membership category you want to join, and then you make the payments. You get at the back end, they will approve for you to make payments. You make the payment, and once your payment is received, you're asked to provide some certain information. Once that is done, your membership certificate is sent to you, and you're onboarded onto our various platforms. We have an app called the Glue Up, which is like an interactive app for members. We also have a WhatsApp group that they can onboard you on, and of course, you get all our newsletters through your emails and through the app. So, if for those who want to join for the Nigerian FinTech Week, you can also access on our what's it called on our website, or you can send a phone number that you can use 0903 000 3013 to a request for inquiries. So if you want to be a sponsor, we're still open to sponsors, and you want to participate, you can register online. You could want everybody to register online so that registration process can be seamless when you arrive at the venue of at the landmark center. So and we're using the entire halls, so it's going to we have space for everybody, and there's breakfast and there's lunch.
What we love to hear. I'm glad you didn't leave that out. So there's breakfast, there's lunch, guys. No small talks, no, cookies and tea, no just coffee. There's breakfast and lunch. So clear out those 3 days, and we hope to see you there. Anything else you want to say to entrepreneurs, enthusiasts, startup founders, or just anyone interested in tech
Yeah,
before we
okay. The resilience, innovate, diversify.
resilient, innovate, diversify? That's what RID. RID. Okay. So that I'm sure we can pick up on that. RID, resilient, innovate, and diversify. Thank you so much, Doctor. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We're very excited to bring more news to you. Please go check out the website, apply, and also try and make it to the event. And I hope to see you guys there or see you soon. Um, and I'll hand over to my
Thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you.
pleasure to meet you, sir.
It's been a wonderful time having Dr. Babatunde Obrima, the Chief Operating Officer of Fintech Nigeria, on this edition of Africa Fintech Podcast. Thank you, our host, Uzo Numanu, for doing a very great job. Um, I said I was going to go away, but unfortunately, I was glued from the beginning, even up till now. Before we go, let me quickly share the video of the FinTech Association, FinTech Nigeria event coming up so that our viewers across the world can see it and possibly take note of the necessary information. Just hold on for me for 1 minute. Thank you. Well, we have come to the end of this edition of FinTech Africa podcast. Until the next time, I remain your executive producer, Ajetumobi Olumayewa. God bless you. Have a very beautiful day. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.